Hello, Bucks fans. Welcome back to Real Bucks Talk. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Buccaneers defense and how it isn't good enough to overcome the turnovers by the Buccaneers offense, and something where this team has to get better in all three phases and has to do a better job of playing complementary football, because right now it's missing, and that is a big reason why the Buccaneers lost the last two games against Baltimore and Atlanta. And also, you can go back to the game in Atlanta, which they lost in overtime. It just hasn't been a consistent thing for this team, whether it's the defense not playing well enough, even when the Buccaneers don't turn over the football. And then also when the Bucks do have turnovers, they're putting their defense into a bind. So just have to do a better job of playing much cleaner in all three phases, because right now there's just too many things execution wise that are not going to plan or happening at cause. Now, Buccaneers are putting up points, but it hasn't been enough on either side of the ball and on special teams as well. So let's dive into it. Let's look at the results lately. Obviously losing on Monday night to Baltimore. Defensively just couldn't stop Lamar Jackson. Lamar got on a run and their offense was humming. But why did that happen? It's because of the Buccaneers turnovers. Changes the game, changes the momentum, and that really hurt the Bucks. And from there, the sale kind of went out. And then this last game against Atlanta, you have a turnover on your opening drive, and then of course Atlanta scores right after that, going up 7-0. So it's just those little things that need to be detailed out that turn out to be big things for this team. Because, and again, your offense isn't going to be perfect. We're not asking them to be perfect, but they have to find a way to limit the turnovers. You can't have 3 to 4 turnovers a game and expect a winning result, and that's what's been happening over the last couple of weeks. I think the big thing with the Buccaneers defense has been injuries. Injuries have played a part. You don't have Jamel Dean out there, so you have a weak spot at outside corner, and obviously Atlanta took advantage of that on Sunday with some passes over the top against Tyreek Thunderberg. And then your pass rush is inconsistent. You have a very big liability in KJ Britt. That is someone we highlighted in the last video about Buccaneers making adjustments, going more to dime package and doing some different things and finding ways to get better on that side of the ball. We mentioned, about going to JJ Russell or giving some of these other guys another opportunity, but just hasn't happened. And defensively, it just hasn't been consistent enough. And then offensively, you know, the offense is moving the ball very well, but the untimely turnovers are really coming back to bite us against the better teams. Now, against the Saints, yes, they had three. Baker Mayfield had 3 interceptions in the first half, but the Bucks were able to overcome that because the Saints are not a good football team and they're just not very good offensively. So you could probably get away with it if you're facing a lesser opponent. But the last 2 weeks against Baltimore and Atlanta, better quarterbacks that understand where to go with the football, how to attack defenses, makes it difficult, especially when your offense is turning over the football. So that's a big part that plays into it. And I'll put the turnovers here on the screen as you see them. I mean, this was the big turnover by Bucky Irving there on the fumble against Atlanta that cost the Bucks points. This right here was the backbreaker, basically changed the game with the pick, trying to go to McMillan there. This was when, you're just trying to force something, but all these turnovers, it plays a big factor and you just can't have it. This one I couldn't believe because Buccaneers were running the football very well to start the game. Probably would have went up 7-0 instead of being down 7-0. And then we had these 2 interceptions that were in scoring territory, and it costs you points. I mean, you scored there, you have a different outcome potentially if you score on both of those possessions where in a game you only lost by 5 points. So, all these things play a part, but bottom line is your defense isn't good enough to overcome turnovers. So, and they're not good enough right now to force turnovers. They're just not in a position. Your pass rush is inconsistent. Your secondary and linebacker play are trying to overcompensate each other because your linebackers are not very good at coverage right now, and then your secondary is trying to make up for that liability. So it's putting a lot of stress on your defense as a unit, and I think that is causing issues on that side of the ball. And then offensively, I think there's a little bit of trying to force the issue a little bit too much, knowing that hey, we got to put up 27 to 30 points per game or even more. So I think they just need to understand that they have to let the game come to them, play within the offense. Your offense is working. Liam Cohen is calling a great game. So we'll go to some of the tweets here that I reposted on my page. And great point here by John Ledyard talking about Baker Mayfield. Doesn't need to be perfect, but he has to be better in the turnover worthy plays. And he hasn't been good over the last several weeks, and for the season hasn't been good as a whole. So that definitely has to improve, and the offensive line is giving him time. They're protecting very well. So there's really no reason for these turnovers to happen. He's just got to do a better job. And then here's another great tweet here just showing the how productive Baker Mayfield has been, but also the negatives that has cost his team potentially wins. You look at it, 13 passing touchdowns versus 7 interceptions over the last 4 weeks. So obviously putting up touchdowns, but also taking points off the board because of the interceptions, and that is something that has to get better moving forward. And I talked about it here. I said a positive, but also tied into the offense turnovers, which isn't helping the defense, who are not good enough to overcome. Complementary football is definitely missing. All three phases of this team have to be better. And this is something I'll talk about in another video, but leaning more on the running game, leaning more on your strength, which is your running backs, and finding a way to utilize an offensive line that is blocking very well for you. I think that's going to be important. But we'll see if the defense can improve. But right now, they're just in a place where they can't overcome these turnovers that we're seeing. So it has to be a much cleaner product on the field from an execution standpoint on all sides of the ball, and hopefully we see that soon. But just wanted to share that with you guys. Hope you enjoyed this type of content. Hope you enjoyed the video, and let's see what happens with this team. Let us know your thoughts. Hopefully they can find ways to improve where the offense can be a little bit cleaner, and that maybe helps the defense, progress and execute a little bit better on their side of the end. Let us know what you guys think. And with that said, until the next one.